Here's a semi-competitive game where I playtest my deck against my sparring buddy. He very kindly whips out his kit deck, the deck that I'm trying to tech against, and I'm playing my Vegan Blue Sun deck. If you don't remember, this is a deck where I recur my oversight AIs using archive memories, which allows me to get a huge boatload of money, or force the runner into losing all their money, trying to break my res curtain walls. In any case, this economic lead will be leveraged in the form of HP upgrades, Corporate Troubleshooter, and Ash, which should allow me to score agendas, and that will be the route which I'll take to victory. So, with that, knowing that I'm up against Kate, I don't really need too many ice in my opening hand, so seeing hedge fund and double ice, can't really ask for more. That's keep. So I do a standard opening. It was very tempting to score the hostile takeover on my first turn, but let's not be stupid here. Let's do the logical thing. Prepare my ice and then score the hostile takeover next turn. No hurry there. Of course, it's dangerous because the errand boy is the one that is on my HQ, and I do not want him to steal my hostile takeovers. They are more or less the most important agenda in my deck, because they are the only agendas that can fast advance me to victory, that give me a huge burst of credits early on, that enable my archer. So in this case, you see me here using two of its features, enabling the archer and gaining a surge in credits, having 10 credits now instead of 5, I guess. So here, I draw into Elizabeth Mills, and since I've already scored hostile takeover, I'm going to use Elizabeth Mills and hopefully bait the runner into running my errand boy, but that didn't happen obviously. Still, I get to erase one bad pup, and here I attempt to be sneaky by trying to score an Atlas. Hopefully that he cannot contest it, but I know he full well can because he has an SMC in his heap and a clone chip out. So if he wants to get in, he definitely sure can. And that was very risky of me there. What I should have done was to throw the Ash in there instead. So, and score the Atlas in it at a later time. But I was thinking that against Kate, I should play fast, and this is definitely going to cost me an agenda right here. The only source of consolation is that my errand boy will fire off, and I will get to draw cards. I almost always want to draw cards with errand boy, so because I want to see those oversight AIs, and in this case the curtain wall ASAP. Once I get to see the curtain wall, I'll be able to start flying away in terms of credits. Now, I did not overdraw with errand boy because I knew that I only had 3 clicks next turn. I cannot install everything that I wanted to. So here what I did was to install the Jackson and the errand boy before trashing my agendas so that I wouldn't get hit by any HQ pressure. That would be pretty annoying if agendas were sniped from my hand, because that is usually my weakest point early on, and sure enough, he does make a legwork run. So thankfully, I destroyed the agendas before he could get to them. At this point, obviously I took the 3 credits. As I said, I usually want to draw cards instead, but in this scenario, he's going to access 3 cards from my hand. I'm not going to risk him stealing another agenda, so I'll just take the 3 credits. Unfortunately, he accesses all my upgrades and assets and trashes all of them, except for the daily business show. Which is a pity because I really needed the Ash to score agendas. So, again, the only solace is that he does not get any agendas from me. Here I bounce the errand boy back. Bouncing ice back every turn is very important for me because he might be running parasites, and I do not want him to insta-parasite my errand boy. Being at 1 strength, he can easily do that. So, I reinstall the errand boy, and I get the daily business show going. This should hopefully accelerate my gameplay. If I can filter through my deck and draw out the important pieces that I need, things should go my way. Now, he attempts to get a data sucker token here, and he will do so, but not before allowing me to draw cards. So my first card is definitely going to be a draw, because that I can combo that with daily business show. So I draw into a hive, and knowing that my agenda density in R&D is pretty high, I've only seen 2 agendas out of my, how many, 10 or 11 agendas so far. The chance of me hitting an agenda with errand boy is pretty high, so I decided to gain credits after that. And then I draw into Curtain Wall and Hadrian's Wall. I wish I had both, but I don't. So at this point, I'll just install the ice and res the Curtain Wall. So now things can get going. And the best thing is, yes, I have an archive memories in my hand, so I can actually do this twice. As long as he doesn't contest my Curtain Wall. He could, because he's getting rich at this point. He can play Lucky Find and then tutor his Cerberus on the go. But instead he chose to run HQ. Very interesting choice. Here I do not res the errand boy because I have a feeling he's going to parasite it down. And I do not want to waste my money when he's just going to easily parasite it. So first I install Enigma on R&D because I know that he's simply one sharpshooter away from a successful Maker's Eye run, and I do not want him to get an easy access into my R&D. So I'm definitely going to place the Enigma over it so that he cannot be certain that his R&D run is going to be successful. Hopefully that should slow him down from getting into R&D. The worst thing can do is to actually leave all the ice on your important servers rezzed, because this gives all the information the runner needs to assemble their rig and get through that server. They can do the calculations in their mind. With unrezzed ice like the Enigma on my R&D, he won't be able to do so. And here I sneakily switched the errand boy on my HQ out for a hive because I knew that he was accumulating data sucker tokens. I wanted to make sure that the ice that I have is always out of data sucker range so that he cannot instant parasite them down. So last turn you saw me archive memories my ash into my hand. This turn I'm going to install it, so it will protect my daily business show, but more importantly it should protect my agendas later on. And if he does decide to contest the ash, he's going to lose a lot of money from running through my curtain wall. That should give me a scoring window to score any agendas as well. So it will be a win-win for me. Of course, he doesn't contest the remote, which will give me more benefits because of daily business show. The draw power, the filtering power rather, is insane. So as I completely expected, he pulled the Parasite on me, and he's going to access my hand. Nothing much to see there, thankfully. But that does set me back a couple of credits. Not too big a deal because I'm pretty rich at this point. And I spent my first archive memories on the Ash. That's the flexibility of archive memories there. It's usually used for oversight AI, but in this case, I needed the Ash because both of them were destroyed by the runner. So that was the first priority. I was pretty rich anyway compared to the runner, so I didn't really need the second oversight AI just yet. So now that I finally found an agenda, it's time for Daily Business Show to retire and for Corporate War to kick into action. So he installs his Code Gatebreaker, and apparently Zoom Keymaster has been enabled for cloud computing, which is pretty insane. Well, but I stop him. Cold, hard stoppage with Curtain Wall. Sure, he can pay to get through. He can expend his data sucker tokens if he wants. It's not worth it. He knows that I use archive memories to fetch the ash back. He knows that there's no way he's going to get into this server and fetch the agenda. He could attempt to run through, but he won't make it through twice. It would cost him, with Snowball especially, because he's using Snowball instead of Cerberus, it would cost him 12 credits just to get past a Curtain Wall. So that's one of the weaknesses of his deck. He's not using Cerberus, he's using Snowball instead, and that could prove to be his detriment as I score out my Corporate Wall. The most important thing about this is that this actually gives me 7 credits in return, which greatly boosts up my credit pool. So there's even less need to use the archive memories in my hand for another oversight AI, much less play that hedge fund and restructure that's sitting in my hand. They are pretty dead cards, to be honest. What I need right now is more hard stopping ice because my daily business show has ran out, so I cannot guarantee that my HQ will be free of agendas. I need to stop him from, get more ice so that my remote server is completely impenetrable to him. So he continues installing lots of clone chips. And he actually has a very good economy going because he found all 3 prepaid voice pads, and his data sucker is above the range of most of my small eyes, which is a little troubling. Yeah, that's not good, which is a bigger reason why I want to see all my big eyes quickly. So I find my hive that goes on HQ, then the curtain wall goes on R&D. I cannot score the geothermal in the same turn, so I'm going to just wait for next turn to install my geothermal. In the meantime, he parasites down my archer, and that is when I know I'm screwed. I haven't been paying attention to that. I should have seen this coming. He has 4 data sucker tokens and a clone chip with a parasite clearly in his heap. That's what he's going to do. Perhaps I should have put the curtain wall on R&D. Well, it's too little too late. Sorry. I can only rest the Enigma to tax him somewhat. The Parasite is going to kick in and kill my valuable archer. And he basically pulls out 5 points from the top of my R&D to win the game. Well, nope, he doesn't. He only pulls out the priority requisition, but he runs again, and he actually finds the second Project Atlas to win the game. So, yeah, you could say that that was very unlucky for me. His R&D accesses were golden, but to be fair, in his defense, I actually ate through half my deck. There were exactly 24 cards left in my deck at that point, and for that amount of cards, the number of agendas that I saw so far were rather right on track. I guess if you count the Jackson agendas, then yes, I've been seeing a normal amount of agendas, but otherwise, yeah, I should expect that kind of variance. So basically, the big mistakes this game were, I was too confident about R&D, which goes back to Archer. Archer is a very solid piece of ice in Blue Sun. Even though you don't want to bounce it back with Blue Sun's ability, it is rock solid. I wouldn't think of cutting that Archer. In fact, because of this game, I've learned that I needed to increase the number of archers in my deck because it's just so good. Had I not seen this Archer in this game, how would I have protected my R&D? I don't know. The one curtain wall that I saw would probably have gone on R&D, which meant that I wouldn't have been able to safely score the corporate wall. So that was very important. I didn't have enough hard stopper ice in my deck, strangely enough. You'd think 3 Hadrian's walls and curtain walls are enough? Nope. And another crucial learning point with regards to ice is that Errand Boy is not as good as I made it out to be. I suppose its effect is somewhat intangible because it actually drew me quite a few cards that I wouldn't have seen otherwise. So my game would theoretically have been 4 or 5 turns slower, which is pretty huge because the more cards I see, the more economy I get, the more ice I get generally. The problem was that I couldn't stop him from accumulating data sucker tokens, and that was what killed my game in the end. Because he was able to parasite down my archer, that was where he scored the winning agendas from. So this is something I'm keeping into account. Because of this, I think I'm going to remove Errand Boy from my deck. Plus, it's not very good that it's only at 1 strength, which means that I need to spend time bouncing it back to my hand. I find that I'm being too conservative with my eyes, always bouncing it back, which is probably a mistake because it actually consumes clicks that I could have spent drawing up cards instead and achieving the same effect. Instead, I should be playing other End the Run ice, which prevent the runners from getting important effects of such as dirty laundries, security testings in the case of criminals, and of course data suckers, my biggest nemesis. So, those are the lessons I learned. The game against my sparring buddy was very effective in enlightening me on these. So thanks for watching and happy net running. Goodbye.